caramel macchiato with an extra shot and whipped cream, please.
Coming up.
Wait, hold on. How much is that?
$4.85.
Okay, better drop the extra shot. What does that make it?
$4.20.
Better make it a small. What does that make it?
$3.30.
Better drop the whipped cream. What does that make it?
Less calories.
Oh my God, and he flew all the way to New York to tell me that. That's so romantic.
It's beautiful, really.
You're not even allowed to leave the state.
What's that now?
It's the Al Travis Show. We got on with us today. I'm very excited about it. Representative Walter Hudson. Representative, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I just find these weird things over the weekend that I just can't wait to talk with you about. One is actually off your X, if we can go back there. Alpha News put out a thing about Rebecca Delahunt, family council person, was kind of ripping Shakopee Women's Prison for letting, men be in the Shakopee Women's Prison, which I get the issue that we've been having here. But the one that coincided with it, I don't know if you caught it at the same time, there's I'm going to say a trans woman, a man at the TSA that is suing the federal government for the right to pat down other women. Of all the things, whether guys should be in sports and whether, prisoners, I think I got it all. I never once thought, ever, that there'd be this issue where a born woman would say, no, I don't want him rubbing me down. And what do you know? There's a federal court case on it. There's going to be a judge deciding whether this has gone too far or not. Has it, Representative?
Of course it is. Of course it has. And this is yet another example of the point that I made in committee last year when we were discussing, I believe it was Peggy Scott's bill to keep boys out of girls' sports. Yeah. And that is, you cannot have these two so-called protected classes protected at the same time in the same way. If you're going to protect biological sex, which we have done for many, many years in our Human Rights Act, you cannot also protect this made-up category of gender identity because they come into absolute fundamental conflict with one another. Somebody's rights, quote unquote, are going to be violated. And you're going to go on a case-by-case basis to decide whose rights are going to be violated. Well, what that tells you is that one of these rights is not actually a right, because actual rights don't come into conflict. Actual rights are upheld universally every time in every situation, and they don't have to be pitted one against the other. And so the fact that you have women who are saying, hey, I'm a woman, I want to be treated as a woman, and then you have men who say, well, I'm a woman too, and so I get to fill up other women. No, that doesn't fly.
And even the idea that you would sue the federal government for the right as a born man to touch women in these ways kind of proves the idea that you're not really in it for the cause. You want to touch women. Because, again, if your boss says, you know what, others are not comfortable with you touching them, Al. By the way, I'm not saying it's never been said. But if it were said, then if you're going to be a stand-up guy, say, okay, I won't do that anymore. You're going to sue for the right to do it is just, it's over the top. But I've had a couple of those this weekend, and I'd like to ask you about the SNAP one. I've been talking about it today because when I get this, duh moment when I'm watching the news, then I know I'm in trouble. So evidently, Trump asked all the states to turn in their SNAP numbers, who gets it, who doesn't, the information. The red states said no, thank you, which I find interesting that they can because the federal government's given the money. If I want to know who's getting it, I don't know why they can't get that, but they didn't. So they did a study on the blue states, and the blue states came out, and what do you know? I got this backwards, don't I? I got this backwards. So the red states said yes, blue states said no. So they just studied the red states, and they found like 187,000 SNAP people in those states getting illegal benefits. They were either dead, they weren't around anymore, they had jobs, whatever. So now they roll it out, and they feel there's probably 500,000 people getting double dipping in the program, or at least didn't turn in dad when he passed, and they're still getting the program. Whatever. Fraud. So Donald Trump comes out, and he might just be joking. He probably can't just do this, but he says, I'm going to have them all sign up come the first year. We're going to have everybody come back in, sign up. We'll find out who's alive, who's dead. And I thought, well, duh, that sounds easy. And the left went nuts. The left said this is going after poor people. This is going after those who can't get to the I don't know, wherever you got to go to sign up. I found it like, you got to be kidding me. There is absolutely no minimum standard of what you have to do to get a benefit from the United States of America? Your thoughts on the SNAP? I'd love it. Sign up.
Yeah, it's a very obvious idea, and the argument against it is patently absurd. What do you do? How do you use your SNAP benefits? Remind me. How do
Yeah,
any of us get
You
food?
go to the store.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You leave the house, right? You leave the house, you go to the grocery store, you
Yeah.
buy, right? So
Wander the room. Yeah, you got the cart. You got to fill it up. You got the ability to do that. Then you push it to the aisle, and then you use your card. You're absolutely right. There's some.
So you're telling me people can go to the grocery store to use their SNAP benefits, but they can't go down to the local government office to
Insane.
reaffirm that they actually qualify for it. Absolutely insane.
See, and what gets me is I just had Jack on. He hunts every year. You want to go hunting, you must go down to the office and sign up and apply and prove that you are who you are. It's a whole thing every year. I have to every 4 years, just for the right to use the roads,
Right.
I have to go get a driver's license. This is the terrible burden upon myself that I go through all the time. But if I expect something, how often do they have to sign up? Any idea? I'm asking people to call me, send me an email. I don't know the program. Do you sign up and you're on until you tell them you're not anymore?
Apparently. I mean, I don't know what other explanation there is for having 500,000 people on it who don't exist, apparently.
That's why it drives me nuts. When I sit there going, well, duh. And then my wife goes, maybe they should only do it every 4 years. SNAP should be you're on it, got it, you need it. I'm not opposed to you having it. But the second you can get yourself off, it should be the next move. But let's say you get that job, it doesn't pay really quite enough, and it really helped if I got the SNAP benefits on top. I can see us setting people up to fail and start taking things they don't get because it makes life easier. To not have to go in once a year, not have to at least sign up and say, hey, I still don't have a job or whatever. I just find it astronomical today. That's how we do it. And I presume it's the same with Social Security.
Well,
you get on it, you're on it. You're going to be old, but who tells them then when you're dead?
Exactly, right. I recall, and I don't have interaction with any of these programs, but I seem to recall back in the day, in order to get unemployment, you had to go in every week. Like you had to go in every single week and demonstrate that you've been looking for a job. I'm sure that's not how it works now.
I don't know how old you are. I used that back in the day, and it was 6 months long. If you worked for up to like the year, you could get 6 months of unemployment. And I know this guy got fired from a radio station. So I get fired. I got 6 months. I go in there, and you are correct. You had to, I want to say it was applied to 20 places a week. You had to been actively looking for work. You had to tell them who it was, and you had to go in every week so that you can get your, whatever that thing was, 3/4 of a check or whatever it was. But it was 6 months. As I understand it now, it's 99 weeks, and you don't have to prove you're doing anything.
Yeah. It was just absolutely nuts. I mean, and the audacity of complaining in any degree about getting stuff for free. I mean, and that's what the Democrats do all the time, but my God.
Yeah.
You are living off the generosity of your fellow man, and you're going to complain about the terms. Sorry.
And again, the people I heard complaining didn't seem to be they were on SNAP. They weren't whining they had to go down. They were saying how hard it is on the poor SNAP people to ever go in. You bust that down right away. Well, they got to go to the store to use it. Can't they wing by on the way by and get signed up? Completely agree with you. But it was the self-righteousness of some people that, well, we can't ask them to do anything to take our money. I mean, that would be, I don't know, discriminatory. What is even the it isn't discrimination. What is it? It's just a burden you're putting on others to take my money.
Well, what about the burden that the rest of us have to endure of getting up every day, getting out of bed, getting ready, leaving the house, driving someplace to work, and putting in 8 hours a day at the minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I get to complain about the fact that I have to do that, and then a huge portion of what I earn goes to nonsense like this?
Oh, and even if everyone wanted it, like say 500,000 people are probably stealing from it, you don't have to go very far in Minnesota to look at people that are literally stealing your money. The one with the U.S. Attorney General who said, what is that, housing stabilization program, he believes 100% of it was stolen.
Yeah.
How often you got to go to work? Do you put your money in and say, guess what? No one seems to care enough. These guys just walked away with it, and not one homeless person was helped. We should be mad. I got to go to break. I want to ask you about licensures in Minnesota. We all know, because I've talked about on this show, to be an autism helper group, you don't need a license in Minnesota, but you'll be amazed what you do need a license for, and we'll talk about that with Representative Walter Hudson Right after this.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
You know that car sound that sounds like a cricket playing a banjo? Jay's can fix that. You know when you step on the brakes and your car sounds like a pair of tennis shoes in the dryer? Paul is the guy who specializes in that. And you know that sound that never happens when the mechanic's around? Paul took a whole course on that. If you own a car, you need to know Paul. Paul owns Jay's Auto Shop, 202 North Main Street, Blue Earth, 525-1052, 525-1052.
The Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
Grateful to have me as Representative Walter Hudson on the program today. I want to call this the horse whisperer story, but that doesn't quite work. It does, and we'll work on it. Basically, a federal court has come out and said this Becker woman, and I have no doubt that Senator Howe knows this gal, because we talked about it when this was first bubbling up. She has every right to give her horse massage lectures as she pleases. Evidently, the state of Minnesota Education Department, what's gone on, she went to some veterinary school. She found out if you rub your horse after a hard workout, they get better quicker. Whatever. I'm stunned. She had 400 clients. There can't be that many people, but okay. So she's got 400 clients. The state finds out. And the Department of Education sues her and says, no, hold on, missy. You ain't just rubbing horses in the state of Minnesota without a license. They want $2,500 for the license, $500 for the program, and a $10,000 bond in case the horse is upset. Anyway, they get involved here. And they go to the Supreme Court, up to the court. The federal court says, no, this is a free speech thing. That's why the horse whisperer comment came in. It doesn't really work, but it seemed like it should have as a joke. The horse whisperer. They say no. She has every right to teach Buddy how to massage a horse if she wants to. You're taking away her rights and that sort of thing. She said, if I had to pay for that stuff, I'd be out of business. I'm basically trying to get hay money for my horses to make it through the winter. Representative, we sit here going after this poor woman, the massage whisperer. Got to be something there. The massage whisperer. And at the same time, we set autism groups up across the state of Minnesota, send them any money at all. No licensure needed. How is that possible? We're more concerned about the horses.
Well, that's government priorities for you. I can think of fewer, more potent examples of just how useless government bureaucracy is. I mean, my God, who benefits from this? Like, whose life is made better by the Department of Education going after a gal who's bartering with her neighbors and friends and network of people for mutual benefits, so she can get hay for her horses for the winter, and so that they can take care of their horses throughout the year. Nobody's losing in this scenario except for the state of Minnesota in terms of getting these fees, and the amount is minuscule compared to the amount of fraud that just that one Department of Education, has overseen.
And in the Department of Education, somebody tell me how this works. Let's say we really want to tamp down on horse massaging in this state, because good God, this could go wrong in so many ways. Do we then pay somebody to come up with the curriculum that these people have to go to pass so that they can get their licensure? Oh, good God, I hope we're not paying somebody for that. Tell me we're not paying somebody to come up with the 4-hour program and continuing ed year after year. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the $500 has to be paying for something, right? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just a filing fee. I don't know.
So then you licensure, that means nothing. We have no standards, no anything. We'll do that. But that's back to the autism thing. My barber, I remember it started, my barber, she comes up there and we start talking about it, and she goes, how can they have no regulations? She goes, as a barber, I get checked 2 or 3 times a year, random spot checks to make sure I'm coming in the combs are in the little blue water and stuff like that, and their nose. I get checked for that. And I said, seriously, and I didn't know it was that much. I said, if you were a bad barber, and don't use my haircut as an example, but if she was a bad barber and clipped ears or people got lice from not to be, she'd be out of business in a minute. That will self-fulfill itself. Autism kids, you'd use and abuse them. You don't do it right. What, are they going to come home and complain? You know what I'm saying? We should have more safeguards on autism than we do on my hair cutter.
Well, and how about abortion services? So when they passed their big abortion bill in 2023, it was their top priority coming in with the trifecta, their HF1, their SF1. We got to get this done. We explicitly attempted to require licensure, right? To require some sort of regulation, some sort of inspection. They rejected all of that. So it's apparently more important for the state to make sure that horses don't get massaged without the proper training. But your 12-year-old can walk into an abortion clinic escorted by somebody who's not you, an adult who's not you, and invaded in the most intimate and life-transforming of ways. And nobody's licensed, nobody's regulated, nobody's inspected. It's that huge double standard and the gap in actual importance of what it is that we're dealing with that is the most egregious thing here.
See, but this is where we always come down to, you and I, as the end of our bits together, is in tell me how. Because I sit here, I'll tell you what, I'll talk to anybody in the street. You want to talk to me about how ridiculous it is to have a horse licensure and not for autism or abortion clinics. I will have that conversation all day. I think I'm on the high ground here. How does the rest of Minnesota not see that? How do we fix this craziness? And you're going to say, vote. But that's not happening. It hasn't happened in Minnesota, statewide election in 30 years. How do we get this fixed? This is common sense stuff.
Well, listen, if you're going to set aside the political system and electoral politics, what's left to you is non-compliance. And I'm not your lawyer, so don't take my legal advice.
I got
but when people on the large, I mean, look what the fraudsters did, right?
No.
Look at the fact that look at the number of things. I mean, I had talked to a number of constituents, not from my district, but from Minnesota, who were talking about the child protective services and what happens with kids in custody disputes.
Mhm.
And there are laws on the books to handle that stuff that don't get enforced.
Yeah.
They don't get enforced.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like government decides what it's going to enforce and what it's not going to enforce, what resources it's going to dedicate to the enforcement of certain things, like horse massage, apparently, and what resources it's going to dedicate to other things, like ensuring that people don't fraudulently take our tax dollars.
Yeah.
And it is all an injustice. And the civil disobedience at its root, the difference between civil disobedience and criminal, like just straight up criminal conduct, is that civil disobedience has an underlying injustice that it is addressing.
Sure.
And so when people would sit on the front of the bus when black folks were forbidden from doing so,
Right.
that they were breaking the law, quote unquote, but that was civil disobedience because the law was unjust.
We are out of
Yeah.
time, and I'm sorry to cut you off, and I would never call for this, but in the sake of what you just said, sir, I'm asking all people with horses to run out and massage them illegally today. Prove to the man that you can do this. And what are they going to? How many police are going to show up? Go massage a horse today and prove that we can stand up as Americans. You're not calling for that. I'm calling. It's Walter Hudson. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks.